Hey you! Do you like falling asleep while driving only to get woken up by demolishing the car in front of you? Boy, do I have the best car for you! The Aston Martin V8 Vantage GT3. Now, I gotta be honest, I don't personally think that this car is as boring as a lot of other people like to say it is, but it does kind of have the personality of a soggy slice of bread. The Vantage and I actually have that in common, so that's kind of cool. In today's video, I want to take a look at the Aston Martin Vantage V8 GT3 in Assetto Corsa Competizione and go over what's good about this car, what isn't, and what you need to do in order to go fast in this thing. Before we get started, I just want to let you know that I do stream almost every day over on Twitch. I host a lot of community events and whatnot. It's a fun time, and I'd love to see you over there. The link for that's in the description. Alright, let's miss our breaking point and slam into this. This beautiful piece of V8 British machinery is the successor to the widely popular and very awesome sounding Vantage V12 GT3. Although the V8 GT3 looks like it's more related to the Vantage GTE rather than the V12. Released in 2019, the Vantage V8 GT3 is fitted with a very rumbly 4-liter V8 twin-turbo engine, which produces somewhere around 535 horsepower, depending on BOP, as well as around 700 Newton-meters of torque. I can't find any official word on this, but I'm almost certain that the V8 GT3 was designed to maximize aero efficiency. Its aero kit is very similar to the GTE version of the car, including a diffuser the size of your including a massive diffuser. What surprised me about this car is that the engine it uses is actually a Mercedes AMG engine, the M177 to be exact. Newer versions of that same engine are used in Mercedes AMG GT road cars, but interestingly not in their racing cars. Starting in 2015 or so, they've been continuously using a 6.2-liter naturally aspirated V8 engine. The reason for not using a turbo was apparently to save cost for customer teams. This makes me wonder why Aston Martin went with a twin-turbo version of that engine instead of just going the naturally aspirated route. Maybe the head guys over at Aston Martin Racing just like cool fluttery turbo noises. I mean, who doesn't? The one drawback that the engine has in this car in Assetto Corsa Competizione is that it takes so long for it to accelerate. I'm pretty sure it goes 0 to 60 in about 3 to 5 business days. The turbo lag is real. Because of the poor acceleration, you have to find other ways to make up time on track. This means taking advantage of the beautiful turn-in response and mid-corner grip that the V8 has to offer. In my opinion, this makes this car a really fun car to qualify in, but it can be a bit difficult to race in if you aren't out front. Carrying more mid-corner speed than someone in front of you can lead to disaster quite quickly if you aren't careful. And if you have to back off mid-corner, the lack of acceleration definitely doesn't help. You know what does help though? Max wang, max rake, minimum diff. The simple formula for easy wins. I'll explain. There is a reason that this car is so popular in ACC right now. I've half spoiled it, half alluded to it already, but because this car has such good aero balance and has such good mid-corner stability and grip, it's very hard to lose the car. In other words, it's almost easy to drive. The V8 GT3 is a car that I find myself recommending to beginners the most because of this, but this also makes it a very enticing option for longer races because of the potential consistency it allows you to have, not to mention how good it is on tires. Because of how stable the V8 GT3 naturally is, you can really push the car's setup in ways that would result in you in a wall every lap if you were in any other car. By this, I mostly mean that you can run super high rake angles, letting the car be more agile in slow speed corners, and still have the same stability in high speed sections. To an extent, of course. If you don't know what rake is, it refers to the relationship between the front and rear ride height. The lower your front ride height is, with the higher your rear ride height, the more rake angle you have. More rake allows for easier rotation, usually at the cost of stability. At most tracks, I've found myself being able to run the front ride height as low as possible and the rear ride height usually between 75 to 80 millimeters. That's an angle you wouldn't usually try in most front-engine cars, let alone dare to try in any mid-engine car. On top of this, I also find myself running the rear wing mostly near the max value you can set, as I personally don't notice much top speed difference. There is a little bit of a difference, of course, but it's nothing huge. Running such massive rake and huge wing angles essentially means most of the car's downforce is being generated at the rear, further adding to the car's stability. Although with those changes, you might start to find it a bit understeery, depending on your rake angle. With that, enters running the car on a super low preload differential setting. This isn't the end-all be-all solution to understeer, but it definitely helps. And it also lets you get on the power about 2 corners early. If you're unfamiliar with how the preload differential works, same. All I know is that the higher the setting, the more on-throttle oversteer you get. The lower the setting, the more off-throttle oversteer you get. Meaning, the lower the setting, the more rotation into the corner you'll have, effectively combating understeer to a certain extent. While the saying max wing, max rake, min diff, easy win may be a bit of a joke, that quite literally are the first changes I and a lot of other people tend to make to the Aston setup. If you stopped by my stream at all recently, you'll know that I'm a very big McLaren fanboy right now. Everything about that car fits my driving style beautifully, I feel like I can be competitive anywhere, and it gives me a sense of confidence. However, right now I drive the Aston for the endurance races in the RCI World Tour, as well as in sprint races for the PPR Esports League, and the Aston has me on a knife's edge about whether I want to fully convert to main the Aston instead of the McLaren. The one thing that a lot of people don't like about the Aston, the lack of personality, is what I think is its strength, for me at least. Knowing the car will almost always be completely stable allows me to think and focus solely on how I am driving. For example, I can notice super fine details in braking and how I should change my braking throughout a stint. Even if it's braking for spoon curve at Suzuka, a corner that's notoriously tricky to get right, I can easily tell if I need to start trailing off the brake pedal just a hair sooner than usual, or if I need to wait a little bit longer before trailing off. I guess this is sort of the type of understanding and clarity you want with any car that you're driving, but for me, it comes much easier in the Aston due to not having to worry about the car randomly getting away from me. Let's just not talk about the Aston's pace at Monza. God, it's atrocious. All in all, the Aston is a very stable, very beautiful, and very solid choice. It may not be the strongest car everywhere, except for Spa, but it's very competitive and definitely worth a look if you haven't tried it yet. I feel like I say that a lot in these review videos. I think next time I'll have to review a car that I don't like. That's it for this one, fellas. If you have any suggestions for a car that I should review that I haven't already, feel free to let me know in the comments. Or if you'd rather me review any car that I personally don't like, you can let me know that too. If you enjoyed this one, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the subscribe and like buttons. It really does help me out. I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.